toughest strongman in history, right here.
It's not a beauty contest. This is Strongman.
Have to be alive if you can't do deadlift. And away we go!
Welcome to the Giants Live Strongman podcast with myself, Colin Bryce, Lawrence Charlet, Darren Sadler, and the legend Adam Bishop, who is a bit crook at the moment. You all right, Bish?
I'm not too bad, man. Yeah, I've had it reattached. Tricep tendon reattached last week, so hey, might have a go one-handed tomorrow. Who knows?
Because we are, of course, here for the Giants Live Open, but the first event is the Deadlift, the World Deadlift Championships, the race to 505. Let me just quickly, will we see it tomorrow, Loz?
I don't think so.
Daz?
I think Ivan's got a chance of doing it because he got it to his knees last year. I think it's a 50-50 thing. I think there's a lot of things got to align for it to happen. You know, whoever's going to do it's got to wake up and have the Weetabix and make sure everything's good. Mitchell Hooper's talking big numbers. In training, doesn't look like he's quite capable of doing it, but then look what he did at World's Strongest Man. He pulled it out the bag there, and no one could believe what he was doing. So he is a guy who performs better on the day. So who knows? Hicksy's looking strong as hell. He's turned up looking massive as well, you know. I think he's looking for 475, and then he'll have a go at 505, he's saying. But 475 would be a massive thing for Hicksy.
You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, when I say I don't think we'll see it, I think I personally think maybe there's a 20% chance. You know, it's possible. It's definitely possible. And we've got some incredible lifters. Mitch Hooper, big game performer. Rauno is in shape and looking strong. He's pulled 460 in the gym. He's a 475 puller at his best. Hicksy, as you said, just looks the best I've ever seen him. I went up and trained with him a couple of weeks ago. Not just looking physically strong, but mentally in a good place as well, which I think is important for Hicksy. Evan Makarov pulled 475 last year. He got 500 up to the knees. He's pulled 490, I believe, in the gym. He is, in terms of numbers that have been lifted, the closest guy I think that we've got. But we have so many fantastic lifters. I think, you know, potentially 9 or 10 guys could pull 1,000 pounds, which would be...
Well, I think this is the point. I mean, the point of it is obviously the reason 505 is an attempted world record is because it's massive. Do you know what I mean? If it was easy, you know, we wouldn't be talking about it.
Doing it.
But I think it's the depth of this competition. Yeah. You know, most people can do 1,000 pounds. There's a lot of people going for 1,000 pound, like Gav, Andy Black. They want to do 1,000 pound, which is massive. You'd have a Scottish and a Welsh record there. You know, and like I said before, people forget how much 400 kilo is, let alone 1,000 pounds.
Crazy.
I think you're going to see a real nice depth of massive deadlifts.
And Bish, obviously you were kind of one of the forerunners to be pulling the 505 even. Let's be honest with us. Where were you at before this injury happened? And how did it happen?
Yeah, I was in good shape. I was putting everything fast, kind of smoking all the weights I needed to, getting used to the suit, or so I thought. But I pulled a 415 in training as part of my program. It's on my third single of the day, and put it down. Strap got caught, and the bar rolled on me. And with this tight suit I was using, it meant that my feet just shot out from beneath me. So effectively, I kind of swan dived into the floor. That's why I had that lovely shiner the other week. And fortunately, the rest of the weight went through my forearm, and the tendon kind of snapped off. So, probably the weirdest way to injure your tricep via a deadlift session. Yes. But look, I was in good shape. But I think we've got a load of guys who are hungry to pull big. As I agree with the guys. I think Ivan Makarov's probably the leader. I think he's probably got the best chance of pulling it. And with Ivan, we've seen it's all about his speed off the floor. He needs to get that bar moving quickly and get it over his sticking point of just above his knee. I think it's where he got the other one for. If he does, then I think he'll be able to continue it to lockout as long as he holds his position. So, yeah, I think if he does that, we could be seeing 505. But the number of guys who are going after that kind of 1,000 pound is insane. Like, we have to talk about this. Like, the fact we're talking about everyone pulling 1,000 pound is mental.
Well, how long was it? I think it was 2014, was it, when we did the competition at Headingley? And
yeah.
I think
13. I think
most of the athletes pulled 400, and we thought that was incredible.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, it was the second year we did it. We decided to do a 400 open, and everyone was like, "What are you doing? Like, that's madness." And I think all but one or two
it was
did it.
Kuklayev who didn't. And
Right,
he
okay.
should have. He was a 400 kilo puller, but he was injured. So unfortunately, he didn't. Every single other athlete pulled 400 kilos.
That's it, yeah.
Now
But when we did that, everyone said, "How can you open a show at 400? This is madness." Because not many years before, I remember in about 06, we did a max deadlift at Mohegan Sun at Giants Live, or maybe it was a Super Series. The world record there. Oh, we're getting some drinks here. Look. The world record there was. Thank
Cheers,
you.
thanks.
Oh, brilliant.
Well, what does this say about all of us?
This ain't good, is it? We're not competing tomorrow.
We're not here.
The world record there was
you.
Kevin Nee with 410. That's not even that long ago. And everyone was walking around with T-shirts saying "Chasing Nee." Do you remember?
Yeah.
Chasing Nee. It was 410.
Yeah.
And now we're opening on 400. And you think, well, everyone will do 400 tomorrow.
I think so. I think everyone will pull 400.
You know what I mean? Like they'll do it like a speed rep. And it's like the other thing you got to remember as well is this is the start of the World Open. This is the first event. So people like Evan Singleton, Novikov, Hicksey, they're thinking they've got another 4 events to do after that. You know what I mean? So they want to get the £1,000 or 475.
Do you remember when London XL Arena, the opening weight was 350, I think. You both pulled it, of course. The second weight was meant to be 375 or 380.
And misloaded
it was 396 or something weird. And you pulled it, though.
No, it was 397.5.
Is that what it was?
It was meant to be. It was 397.5. It was meant to be 360 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I pulled it. And I remember going to you afterwards, going, "I'm not very well today." And you were like, "Why? What's wrong?" I said, "Because that is a heavy 360. It was basically 400 kilos." I was like, "That is the heaviest 360 I've ever pulled. I could do like 4 reps with that." And I pulled it. I was like, "That is the heaviest deadlift I've ever done in my life." Turns out it was. And then you came back and was like, we misloaded the bar.
Sorry, Daz. There's been a bit of an error here. Bulldog.
Was that Dave's issue, was it?
Oh, dear. Those were the days.
Yeah,
We're a bit more organised these days.
We broke the record that day as well.
we did.
Myself and Brian Shaw hit 430, and now 430. These guys are just like. Pfft.
And if you go back and read the comments nowadays, because we put those out not that long ago, and you get all these people saying stuff like, what, is that all they were doing? It's still an unbelievable deadlift.
It comes from guys that are deadlifting 200 kilos. That's the problem. It doesn't come from the 400 plus kilo lifters.
No, gosh, I mean, when I was started Strongman, there was a guy, what was his name again? He was a Hungarian, 407.5 was the greatest ever lift. And then Badenhorst did 410, Magnus, I think, did 410 as well. And
I remember doing 400 kilos, and I weighed 116 kilos when I did it. And I remember I could write down everyone else that could do 400 kilos. I knew and could write down everyone else that had done it back then. And now, there'll be so many guys that have done it in gyms and stuff like that. Like you could actually quantifiably say that this many people have done 400 kilos. Now 400 is just a thing. You know what I mean? It's the old 300.
We said that obviously Hicksey's competition PB is 400 still because he hasn't had the opportunity.
He hasn't had to do it for a long time.
And people think of Hicksey as just this kind of log presser and squatter, but they forget he's a fantastic puller. So
440 really for a double, right? Were you
440
one
for
of
a
you?
double.
Were you with him?
I wasn't with him, but I saw it, and
Crazy,
it was
easy
probably
as
the best lift we've seen out of anyone training up towards this competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hicksey, if you didn't know anything about Strongman and you looked at what everyone's uploaded online, bear in mind not everyone uploads stuff online, I suppose, but Hicksey looks the strongest.
Yeah. I think Hicksey's an interesting one because, in my view, Hicksey's underperformed in terms of what he's achieved in the sport for how strong he is.
Yes.
When you think about strength, gym strength, those big lifts, who beats Hicksey when you comprise a squat, a deadlift, a bench press, and an overhead lift?
I think, wasn't he the second when he did his one or two
first
contest, you broke the British record, right?
I broke the British record, but Hicksey blew it out the water.
Well, I'm going to put it out there. I think Hicksey's going to win the whole show.
I've said this as well.
I'm sure of it. I think he'll win the show tomorrow.
I think the only thing he might struggle with, I said this to him the other day,
The loading.
The loading is the one, and
He's
we've
good
got
at
some
loading,
guys
though,
who are he's good at loading. Don't get me
needs to
wrong, but we've got
70 kilos
You've
ago.
got Novikov, Hooper. You've got these guys doing the show.
Yeah.
There's three
Obviously,
very, very fast guys.
Pablo's going to be quick on it as well.
Yeah.
We saw that in the medley last year.
I think Hicksy can be the best. I mean, no offense to Ivan, but even if Ivan pulls 505, he's not as good a strongman as the other guys.
No.
Not yet, anyway. And that's no offense to him. He's a deadlift specialist. But Hicksy, I think he's the best deadlifter out of the guys that could win the other events. I think he'll win the hammer hold. I think he'll win the log. I think he'll be quite good at the loading. And what people don't realise about Hicksy is he can load stones really quick.
Yeah.
Really quick.
Yeah.
He's not really got a bad event. And I think he can load. I really do.
When you look at the history of his competition, he's done loading 12 times in competition, and he's been in the top 3 5 times.
You know that because Liz told you.
She did.
How the hell do you know this?
Honestly, he's absolutely right.
I could be more impressed, Loz.
I was asked this question earlier, and Liz was like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm going to use that later.
I'm not going to let you take the credit for that.
Darren's kind of ruined that, I was like, don't let Liz onto this podcast. I want to get some credit for knowing some stuff. But no, it's true. He has performed very well on loading before. For the last few years, when he's competed in full shows, he's had a groin issue, which has slowed him down massively. He's also, you say he looks massive. He does look massive, but he's actually a little bit lighter.
Because all muscle, yeah.
He's solid. He looks in the best shape he's ever been. He's mentally in a happy place, which is so nice when you see Hicksy, because you guys know Hicksy. He's always,
He can get a bit down
all right,
sometimes,
But he's happy.
He's really happy,
He's
He's in a
feeling
real
good.
place. But then we've said all that about Hicksy, and then you just start thinking, but Novikov's mental. You know what I mean? He just comes from nowhere.
He's like Terminator 2, the new improved. He just will not stop.
It would take a brave man to bet against Alexei in any show.
I would agree.
Any
Totally
show.
agree.
And then also, Evans always up there. And also, look what Mitch Hooper did at World's Strongest Man. Look at his loading.
Dynamite. Absolute dynamite.
So it's not a clean-cut thing, but I'd love to see Hicksy win, actually, to be fair. I'd love to see him win because, like you said, I think he's underrated.
I think when we look at all the major players for the whole competition, they all have maybe, and it's not guaranteed, but something that maybe they could lose points on. You mentioned Hicksy on the loading. It is going to be the question mark. If he can get 4th on that, he'll be happy. But if a few of the other guys start getting between him, could be an issue. The question mark for me with someone like Mitch Hooper could be like the front hold.
Yeah.
We've never seen him do an event like that. He's quite
And
long in the
possibly
arms.
Stones.
Stones, he didn't do so well at in the Royal Albert Hall.
No.
Made a bit of a mistake there. Then you
At
look
Wells,
at
Evan, difficulties at Wells, isn't he?
Evan's looking really good, but he's had that shoulder issue. Is that going to affect him on a front hold and a log press?
Yeah.
His deadlift, he did pull 1,000 pounds last year. He's going to need to at least match that again this year.
Pressure on.
And Novikov hasn't done amazingly at front holds in past competitions. His deadlift, again, the 1,000 pounds last year, he had to work really hard for. He's going to need to get that 1,000 pounds.
He was so pleased when he got it, you could tell it was a big deal.
You've pulled 1,000 pounds, Adam. You know how hard that is. You're one of the best deadlifters in the world, and that is still currently your PB in competition.
Oh, it's a big deal. Like we said, when Alexei pulled that, that was limit strength for him. I don't think he had. So if like a fly landed on the bar during the lift, I don't think he would have pulled it. It was that close. And you're right. He'll need to put it again because, like you said, I think all the guys have got that one event which could be a banana skin. And the deadlift is for Alexei. I think the loading, and I'm not saying Hicksy's bad at loading at all. I think he's great, but also with the replacements we've had in from the guys who are injured, you've got obviously Shane Flowers and you've got Andy Black, who are both good loaders. They're quicker athletes, but they might not take the points on some of the static lifts. Andy with the log.
Both good deadlifters as well.
Both good deadlifters, but I know that obviously Shane's coming in off a short prep, but he's still going to move really quick on that loading.
Shane's coming up from no prep.
Yeah, no prep.
To be fair to him.
He's had no prep.
Yeah, he's coming up from no prep.
How many hours have we given him?
He's had like a day, so he'll be fine. He's been
Andy Black wrote to me, last year you gave me 3 days notice and I pulled 425. This time I'm going to do 1,000 pounds on 2 days notice.
I think
with a dislocated shoulder.
with the loading, I honestly think that Novikov and Hooper will take some beating on the loading.
Yep.
I think they're the real fast movers. Yeah. But like you said, Shane Flowers can move. Yeah.
Shane Flowers is someone that could cause people problems on that.
Yeah.
I think that is.
I don't think he'll win it, but one of those guys that takes some points.
Yeah. If he got third, and those two guys were first and second, and then like the likes of Hicksy drop points.
I know,
potential.
Just some other guys here. Van der Linden. Have you seen much of him pulling?
He looks massive.
Yeah.
He looks
Big
absolutely
boy.
huge.
The ox.
He did 1,000 pounds or thereabouts with no suit. So it depends how much his suit we had this conversation earlier on. Some people can lift a lot more with a suit. I couldn't, but some people can, So if a suit makes a massive difference, you might see a 475 out of him.
He said to me earlier when I saw him in the arena, "Oh yeah, did you get your suit?" He went, "It's unbelievable."
Right?
And he's come just for the deadlift.
He walked in yesterday. He is a massive guy.
Yeah, a lot of these guys with their kind of strongman nicknames are, sometimes they don't fulfill up to the kind of prophecy, but that guy is an ox. I mean, he looks like he should be ploughing fields. Like, the guy is so thick. We'll put a plough on him. He's ready to go. The guy is amazing.
I'll tell you someone else who looks massive, and I think we need to talk about, is Nekonechny.
Yeah,
Pavlo.
He looks huge. Yeah.
He's walking around here, and it's just like this.
Is this the back of
Well,
his?
do you know, last year he said before he came he had an illness and he lost like 20 kilos. I thought, okay. And now he's turning up this year. I thought, yeah, he obviously did because he looks massive.
He's huge. He's someone that last year we were talking about potentially could pull the 505. This year, I've seen nothing of him in terms of what he's done training-wise. So does that mean he's quietly been training hard and he's in shape, or is he not as confident as he was last year?
We've got to remember also the problems that the country's had. You know what I mean? So you've got to give him that. But hopefully, it'd be nice for his country, nice for him to.
He's from Kiev, but he's worked initially as a driver around Kiev, driving stuff for the military, and then he moved over to where his parents are, so he could do a bit of training as well as continue driving. So I know he drives supplies backwards and forwards over the Polish border and back in again and whatnot. So he said he was working very hard for the military, but in his words, this is what he said to me earlier, I'm not so much here about 505. I'm here to win the whole contest.
Interesting.
Which I thought was fascinating. I thought was,
and he's all muscle as well, that guy,
Well,
he made some big mistakes last year, didn't he?
Absolutely. You could see the potential in him. And I've seen him in a few shows now, and he has made mistakes, rookie mistakes, which you'd expect from someone of his age. But you can see if he gets everything right, could be a real problem for him.
I think what you see off him, last year he missed the 475. I think he'll take it this year.
I think he could. I saw him compete in, I don't know if it was Middle East Strongest Man. It was a show out in Dubai, and he zeroed the log. Not for strength issues, though. He wasn't listening to the down commands from the referee.
Right, okay.
So if he was listening to the referee, he probably would have won the log. He's got strong shoulders on him. His back strength is tremendous. He was very fast last year. I remember watching him. He was rapid, just had a couple of mistakes when it came to the drag. So he could be good on the loading as well.
Paro Dwyer, good deadlifter. He's wanting to get £1,000. The nice thing is about the show, you've got quite a few little nice goals. You've got Gav wanting to do £1,000, get a new Welsh record.
Yep.
You've got Andy Black wanting to get a new Scottish record. You've got Hicksy who just wants to get a PB over 400 kilos.
I think that's the most guaranteed thing we're going to say.
Safest money ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's one man who isn't here, and I think, in particular, I hope he sees this because I want to discuss it, and that's Payman Mahapuri. If I've said that right, Loz, I don't know.
No, but don't worry.
We've had lawyers and all kinds of things, people trying to help out and get priority.
We started in May trying to get his visa.
But in the end, it came down to all these different limitations that would just be way beyond our control. And we've learned a lot. You cannot do priority or super priority or any of that stuff in Iran. It's just the way it is. It's just life. We can't change the system between two governments currently, or however it works. I just, if you are watching this payment, I would like to say very much a heartfelt apology that we couldn't somehow pull this off more from Britain than from us, because we tried our very best. And I think everybody was desperate to see him there, because he would be, for me, he was probably my favorite. There's something, not just favorite as in favorite athlete, but favorite for doing the 505. I think he'd have made a big difference to Makarov. Makarov was walking around like the big dog. And I think if Payman was here, I just have a feeling he would have had the X factor over him and would have got one over him. So I'm so sorry, Payman, you've not made it.
I'm really disappointed that he couldn't get over. And, no fault of anyone. It's just one of those things that...
I think what we're going to do as a company, we couldn't do anything about it. This is what it is. Whether it's political or not, we can't get him over. But I think what we're going to do is as soon as he can get a visa, or we can get him a visa, is get him to a Giants Live. Just so we can get him an airing out there, because the guy hadn't had a chance to do a lot for a lot of years. And the last time he was at World's Strongest Man was Botswana.
great.
He actually did really well. He's a good athlete all round.
He's good all round, strongman.
So we need to get him to a Giants Live. So whenever we do get these visa issues sorted out, I think we're going to invite him to the next show.
He's still in the process of waiting for his visa, isn't he?
Yeah.
So it's
He
not been-
will get.
It's not that it's been rejected.
A quick lesson: there's an absolute minimum of 8 weeks from the moment you do your biometric tests to that's the minimum you can get it at, unless you have a severe, urgent medical need to travel from Iran to Britain.
Okay.
Without that, they won't even do it. I spent numerous times phoning up, and I didn't say he had an urgent medical problems. I just with different people in the international call center for serious emergencies. I tried many times to explain our serious deadlift emergency. I kept getting no's. Unbelievably, I got a yes on Wednesday morning, and I came across someone who took pity on us and wanted to help British business. It was just all too late. The manager agreed. I think he was a Strongman fan or something on that day, and they wrote a letter to Tehran to try and help us. But it was, as we know, Friday and Saturday is their weekend. It was too late.
Yeah. So
it all came too late.
It's all within the process. It's going to just be a matter of days now.
It could even be next week. The 8th week is I think sometime in the middle of next week is when the 8th
Once
week
he
comes
gets that visa, you guys are inviting him over for the next possible opportunity.
Yeah, I think we've got to do
We
that.
have to.
We've got to do that just to give him. I feel sorry for the guy.
And I hope you'll come, Pyman, because we're big fans, really big fans, and Anyway, that's all we can say on it, and I'm so sorry, but to Payman and anyone who wanted to see him lift, like me. There we are.
I think we all did.
We all did. So Makarov's the big dog. We all agree. Is he the one who's most likely?
On the deadlift, yeah, I think so.
And to win the contest?
If I was a betting man, I'd put money on Novikov to win. I wouldn't bet against him. I don't think it's smart to bet against Novikov.
No, I think you're probably right. He tends to win a lot of our trophies, doesn't he?
He's got to win.
Check the bank transfers. You know exactly.
Yeah, we know he's been paid.
You've gone for a double Hicksy, haven't you?
I think Hicksy, yeah. I think Makarov possibly to do the 505, if not tie on 475 with Hicksy. Hicksy wins a full show, but I'm worried about saying that because of Hooper, Singleton, and even Pavlo.
I'm going with my heart. I want to see Hicksy win. I think he's in the best shape we've ever seen him. I agree with Adam. You can't bet against Alexei Novikov, the guy.
But you are.
Well, I'm not. if I was a betting man, I was going to put money on it.
That's what we're doing. I thought we were putting money on
I'm
the
not
table.
parting with any money, so I'm going to go. I'm going to go with my heart and say Hicksy. But yeah, I mean, Novikov has been on the podium in, I think, the last 10 shows that he's
For
done.
both? For the 505?
Oh, no. I don't think Novikov's going to win the deadlift. I think he'll just focus on points. I think the deadlift, I think it's going to be a tie between a couple of guys. I think we might.
You think it's the 476?
I think that's going to be the biggest number, and I think we might see one or two guys attempt the 505.
Do you not think though that maybe? You see, I always thought last year that Ivan shouldn't have done the 475.
I
And
agree.
he might have got the 505. We don't know this. I haven't spoken to him, but I think that what you might see is he won't do the 476. He'll just go straight to 505. That's what I would do if I was him.
I personally think Makarov has to be here for the deadlift. I don't think he's here for the whole show.
No.
So I agree with you. I think he goes 1,000 pounds, 505, if he really wants to pull it. I think 475 for anyone before that is just too much.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what happened last year. So that if I'm right, we'll see.
I mean, if my opinion counts, I would say Makarov had the weight above his knees last year.
Yeah.
He had the weight above his knees. Whether he does 476 or not, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Now, you guys have pulled a lot more than I ever did. But remember Eddie Hall the day he was holding weights and chatting to Caroline Pierce and then did 445 and then 460 and then dropped it. Yeah. I think the human body can do extraordinary things in those situations. I don't think it has as much toll on you as maybe, not when it's the first event. I don't know. I think he'll do it. He looks at least 5% bigger. His traps are much more muscular. His arse is about a meter deep. I mean, he's a much chunkier guy, and he was there last time. To there, I think he'll do it. I think we're going to lose our money, Daz. I really do.
I forgot about that. We're going to prepare this guy. Jesus.
I think.
So we really are betting on this.
Yeah.
I think 55 grand aside, I think we'd all love to see it.
Everyone wants to see it. And the thing is, like I say, you've got to remember, this is a massive deal. So whether anyone gets it or not, they're all there having a go. They're brave enough to come and say, right, let's do this. You know what I mean?
Well, there's Astro Carew, who obviously hasn't made it. He's injured for the second time. Any comment?
I just think I don't really know a lot about the guy. I haven't seen him post anything online. I think he's a credible athlete, but whether can he perform in front of the crowd? Is he nervous about getting in front of the crowd? I don't know. Or is it just injuries?
Does he get a direct invite for next year, or will he have to go and prove that he's?
I think he needs to prove it.
Yeah,
I think he needs to prove it.
I think he needs to go to even a powerlifting show or something and see what he can do.
I mean, someone like Jamal Browner, who is proving it, and we indeed laid out an invitation to him, but really too late, far too late for him, and that's fair enough. It was a few weeks ago.
I think if these guys are going to powerlifting shows and pulling 470s around that, which a lot of them are capable of, I think they've got to get an invite.
I don't even think it needs to be that much in powerlifting to get an invite. If you're pulling 1,000,
well, yeah.
Sorry, I mean not so much powerlifting, even just like the push-pull
meet.
competition, deadlift meets and stuff like that. Probably powerlifting's a bad example.
I think he needs to hook up with Heinler. Yeah. Heinler's not going to give him any free kilos, but I mean they're both in Estonia. At least something in Estonia. I think it's only fair. And he's obviously a big, strong man. Very sad to hear he tore his hamstring again. So best of luck in recovery.
Do you know one last lift?
Yes.
Before we finish, I personally am really excited to watch Gav Bilton tomoror. And I think if Gav...
You stole my last line, man. I was going to say... I didn't bet the overall. I was going to say Gav Bilton.
I think if he pulls £1,000 tomorrow, the roof is going to come off.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. There'll be a baby boom in Cardiff. just like after they won the Six Nations years ago.
Little children
There'll
with
be a baby boom.
little curly moustaches.
Kids called Gav and all with moustaches will be coming out in 9 months' time.
Well, great minds think alike. Thank you,
go.
Loz. I think, indeed, Gav Bilton for the overall win. He's my guy. It'd be magnificent. I'd love to see Big Gav win. But thank you very much, Bish, and best of luck. You come enjoy the show tomorrow. You're going to be there, aren't you?
I'll be there, yeah, definitely.
You're still lifting, yeah?
Yeah, I'm doing one arm.
Okay. Where's the world record for one-arm deadlift? I think John Paul has it, hasn't he?
I'll have to look it up.
Oh, Jesus Christ. There you go. Let's tear the other arm. Why not?
Yeah. We'll let you off anyway. Well, thanks, Daz. Cheers, Loz. There are still a few tickets available, ticketmaster.co.uk, for anyone who wants to come and watch live at 5 p.m. just down the road from here at the Cardiff Motorpoint Arena. Either that, join us on Facebook, where if you go to Giants Live, you can click on the events and watch it again, 5 p.m. UK time. Thanks, gents. Cheers.